Alright everybody, what's up? It's your boy Uncle Viz back with another DNF video. We got word last week that there would be a character balance patch coming in late August. Now in typical Arxis faction, we don't know what late August means. It could be August 30th, August 31st, it could be next week. So we're just gonna have to wait and find out, unfortunately. But I do have some kind of hopes and wishes and some for what they do to some of the characters, as well as some overall system changes as well. Primarily some bug fixes, because the game definitely has a lot of bugs that are kind of ruining the experience for a lot of people right now. For starters, the rematch bug is still in the game. For those of you who don't know what the rematch bug is, every now and then when you're fighting someone online, after someone wins the match and it says rematch and the timer starts counting down from 30, sometimes the game will freeze and it doesn't actually give you the option to hit rematch, but the counter is still counting down, so you don't get a chance to actually rematch. So you pretty much get robbed of running the set. It makes you or the other person look like a rage quitter or a win quitter or whatever. So it makes running long sets on the game pretty difficult. Another one that I personally find just as annoying is the game freezes when you find a match in training. I don't know if this happens in arcade mode or survival mode or anything like that, but I do know for a fact that if you are playing training mode and you're trying to find a match for ranked, normally mid-combos normally happens mid-combo, but the game will freeze for like 25 seconds, maybe even 30 seconds, and you just can't do anything. Then randomly it unfreezes and it says they found the match. It says it's automatically gone. So it's really annoying. It takes a long time to find matches because of it, but that's another bug that needs to go. And another one I feel like not many people talk about, because to be fair, I've only seen it recently. But for certain, as far as I know, for certain characters, I know this happens to Grappler and this happens to Inquisitor. If you try to conversion cancel certain moves on certain frames, the conversion will not come out. For example, if you try to do Inquisitor 6SS, and if you happen to hit conversion around the same frame the launcher of the 6SS comes out, you do not get the conversion. So obviously that's an overlook. No, Inquisitor shouldn't be forced to just YOLO shit like that, while a bunch of other characters can just YOLO shit and be perfectly fine. Same thing happens to Grappler as well. I think for his 5S, I forgot which exactly his move has that bug, but I just know that he does have that bug. Some other characters may have it too, but as far as I know, Inquisitor and Grappler have it for sure. So moving on from the bug fixes, just overall system changes I think that can kind of increase the health of the game, especially gameplay wise in terms of overall balance. Number one on my list is more access to white life. I feel like Arxis and Aiding are trying to balance the game, or Nexon. I don't know who's actually handling the balancing for this game, Aiding, Nexon, or Arxis. I would assume it's Arxis. I think it's Arxis or Nexon, but that's besides the point. But whoever is leading the charge in terms of balance for this game, I feel like they definitely balance a lot of characters around the access to white life and how they can use conversion. Like some characters get really busted with conversion, such as Berserker and Troubleshooter, and they're the only ones who get conversion at any point in time due to moves like their 4S, or 4S, or the Berserker 5MS, putting them into the frenzy state. But the issue that not every character has access to that core system mechanics. It's a thing that everybody can do, but only those two characters are the only ones who have consistent access to it. And I think that kind of shifts the power scale in a pretty unhealthy manner. Some characters just being able to use conversion better than others. So I think white life should be more accessible to everyone across the cast. They can do this in multiple ways. They can give certain moves that don't give white life, they give it white life. Like Inquisitor 4S can now give her white life. I'm not saying you should, just like in an example. But if they do not want to give characters more access to white life, then I think they should adjust the speed of health of the health regen. Health regen in this game is currently way too fast. Normally, fast health regen is a good thing, but when it's tied to white life, which is what you use for conversion for your offense and your defense and your neutral, I think that kind of shifts, the scales a little bit. I don't think in that case, you do not want super fast health or regen, because now let's say you play Inquisitor or Launcher, and you block a 5ms move that deals white life, or you block whatever, and you have white life, and you DP, and you want to try to mix them afterwards using conversion, or do some sort of conversion combo afterwards, or you match someone's block string and you have white life, you want to do like a big damage combo, you can't get the combo because the white life is now already gone because your health came back way too fast. So if they don't want to give more white life to the characters, then they should at least slow down the regen. And just moving on from white life, we're going to deal with guard cancel. I think guard cancel should be the core of any system changes that they do, even more so than white life. Because right now, a lot of people think that the offense in this game is way too powerful, which I do agree with to some extent. But guard cancel definitely needs help, especially that's going to be your sole defensive mechanic in the game besides roll. And roll is really only useful in situations where you know it will work. So I think some of the ways they can buff guard cancel is, one, it should be on hit across the entire castle. Guard cancel should be equalized. Right now, some characters' guard cancels are really bad. Some characters' guard cancels are really good. For example, someone like Hitman, his guard cancel has a huge hitbox, and he's like plus 20 something on hit. So he actually gets a little bit of Oki from it. So big he doesn't get a lot. He can 6S to get back inside, but then he has to spend mana to actually do something. So it's not much, but he's still ended up being plus. Especially if he does that in the corner, he's mad plus. That's not exactly where you want to be. So guard cancel, in my opinion, should be even across the cast on hit. Make it 0 on block, sends them full screen, neutral is officially reset. Next, if we're going to make offense and combos in this game this devastating, your only defensive mechanic should be safe on block. I'm not saying it has to be plus or it has to be super duper punchable. I just think it should be safe on block, but it has to be minus. So if Inquisitor does guard cancel, she shouldn't be minus 20 something. She shouldn't be plus 0. She should be plus 1. Make it minus 4. I think guard cancels across the board should be minus 4. So that way no one can steal their turn back by just straight up mashing. If they want to steal the turn back, they have to RPS to spend even more mana to try to DP. So otherwise, you're safe. You don't automatically die because you're trying not to get guard broken in a checkmate scenario. Which I didn't actually write this down, but I think the game should have actually less checkmate scenarios. Because right now, how the game is built, you can be watching someone the whole game. It's almost like V-triggers in Street Fighter. You can be watching someone the whole game, but someone hits you once, whether on hit or for some characters on block. You just instantly lose the game because you're put into a checkmate. Like, these checkmate scenarios happen way too often, and they're way too devastating. Like, if I happen to block a Striker Tatsu because I dropped my combo, or I went for a kill combo and it didn't quite kill, and she woke up DP into Tatsu kick, and now I get guard broken for it. That's a little messed up. That's a little bit messed up. And now this is going to slightly contradict my previous point about white life, but guard cancel should not give white life on hit. I think giving white life on hit will also tip the power in certain characters' favors. Like if you get a guard cancel that's not too far away, and depending on the character, they're not plus enough, the character who just got guard cancel now bully their way back in with a lariat into conversion, because now the guard cancel just gave them white life. Moving on from kind of white life and guard cancel changes, I do want them to touch training mode. Training mode is still very whack. Main thing for me at least is to add random playback on reversals. Because I just want to test my safe jumps against DP and roll and mash all at the same time. I don't want to have to go through each and every individual time to try to make sure what's right. Or if I want to practice running offense, running safe jumps and Oki shit like that, I just have that ready to go and I can react and do shit accordingly. So I really wish they would add random playback to reversals. They should loop action playback so that you can record actions in training mode. You can play it back randomly, but it doesn't loop. I think there should be a setting where you can loop your action recording playbacks. And of course, add frame data. Frame data should be in every training mode. That should be a standard. There's no reason why that should not be in the game right now. But that's it for the system changes. In terms of, like, we probably won't get that many system changes. They're probably gonna wait a little bit longer before they start toggling around with the system changes. But moving on to the character balance changes, which is probably their main focus, along with the bug fixes. I got a little something for every character. Some characters don't really need to be touched, but we'll get to some of those. First things first, Swiftmaster. Swiftmaster, I think it needs to be toned down just a little bit. Surprisingly, as I hate the character, I think he's way too strong, but I think he needs to be toned down just a little bit. For example, I think they should increase the startup for his Gucci belt. His tornadoes, his swords, whatever people call them, a lot of different things. But the 4 Minio tornadoes, I think, should have increased startup. I think that the move should go away on block and reduce the damage on it. So that way, it can still be useful in combos, but he can't just activate a block string and you can't react to it, and then he just dashes in or he just rolls in and then you just get cooked and then you die. Or you try to read him dash again, so you try to keep him out with like a button, but he blocks it and the hurt box get clipped by a tornado. If you get hit by a 1, you get hit by all of them and then you just die for it. So, this could happen more or less, but I think they should increase his damage scaling so he does less damage overall. Like, I think he should still 3 to 4 touch like most characters. I think he should do about Swiftmaster damage. He should do striker damage. Excuse me. If he's going to be as much as an offensive powerhouse as he is right now, just make him do striker levels of damage. Pre-awakening striker. You shouldn't be able to 2-touch you from being one of the fastest characters in the game and having the best offense in the game. He should not be able to 2-touch you also. His air dash should cost mana. When you Goichi kind of made this really popular. For Oki, they throw out the wind orb and they just keep doing the dash over and over again. It causes a lot of white life, so if you get clipped, you die. It's +3 or +8 on block, and it costs no fucking mana, and you can't guard cancel it because it's plus. So I think that should be toned down a little bit. I think that move should definitely cost mana. I know it's tied to a move that does cost mana, but the action of just spamming the air dash while continuously being plus, all that mana gets refunded. It's kind of in the same vein as the Inquisitor's wheel, but the wheel is not nearly as strong as the wind orb in this scenario. So the air dash should definitely cost a little bit of mana, or at least make it not super plus on block, or just make it not cost white life. Because I feel like it costs white life because you only get access to it because it's tied to a mana move, but the move itself is not a mana move, so let's make that separation. A little bit more recovery on his 5B on whiff. I think that can definitely tone down his brain dead neutral, or I made a little bit of an ultimatum. He can keep everything he has right now. They can keep the Gucci belt the same, his 5M the same, his Swift Strike the same. By the way, his Swift Strike should not be +3. I think that should be even, if not just -4 or -5. That move should definitely be fucking even. But if they want to keep him the way he is, then decrease his health to 800 HP. There's no reason he should be able to do all this and be only 850 when the other 2 850 characters don't have nearly as much stuff as he does. So I think they can leave him the way he is, but just bump down his HP or keep his HP the same and decrease everything else. Berserker. I think Berserker is overall relatively okay. He's kind of a high risk, high reward character. In my personal opinion, if you fuck up once with him, he kind of explodes. I think they should decrease his mana regen. The character who has the most access to conversion should not have, I think, 18 mana regen. He has the highest mana regen in the game, along with the Grappler. And of course, besides Dragon Knight's Awakening. I don't think he should have that much mana regen when he has access to conversion nearly 24/7. The Bloodsword being plus, I don't know why it's plus. I don't think that move should be plus, but it is what it is. I think overall that move is fine. This is a big one because I don't want to fuck up his combo routes. I think the combo routes is what makes him very special. I think they should increase the recovery on Frenzy when not used in combos. When used frenzy in combos, I think it should be fine. I think it's fine as it is. But when not used in combos, when used in a block string, I think the recovery should be increased. Right now, that shit is damn near a 50-50 whether he's going to cancel into it or not. And depending on the range, you can't punish that shit at all. So shit's kind of bananas. So, but other than those things, I think the character is actually fine. I think he's annoying, but I think he's fine. Crusader, I think they should just increase the mana cost on his spear. But otherwise, I think the character is fine. The spear being, I think like 30 or 50 mana. I think that's high. I think that's highly fucking robbery. That move is way too good to cost as little mana as it does. Other than that, I actually think Crusader is fine for the most part. Yeah, spear only costs 30 mana. Yeah, increase spear mana cost. The spear mana cost needs to go up by a lot. Probably like 40 or 50. Or at least 35. You know, at least make it something. Otherwise, I think the character is actually fine. I hate the wall, but the wall costs 50 mana, so he's not something he can readily spam. His buttons are slow, he's weak to grab, he's weak to multi-hitting moves. So overall, I think he's fine. Just increase the mana cost on the spear. Striker, overall is fine. They just need to remove being able to cancel her DP into her Tatsu kick on block. That is fucking nonsense. She should not be able to cancel her DP into other moves on block. That's stupid. Use your common sense. That should not be in the game. It removes risk reward for her. She can just do whatever the fuck she wants on wake up essentially. There is the roll OS where you can do a safe jump and buffer a roll, and if they do a DP, you roll, and if not, you just get the regular safe jump. But that doesn't work all the time. It just should not be the game. Being able to just remove risk for reward like that should not be the game. Other than that, I think the character is perfectly fine. But speaking of removing hit reward, we got Hitman, who's really only a problem in Awakening. Obviously, he's still a good character outside of Awakening, but in Awakening, it's a completely different story. He should not be able to cancel the Shattering Strike on whiff, especially from his DP. This is primarily all tied to his DP. I think he should probably do all of his mana moves, but I do not think you should be able to cancel the Shattering Strike on whiff. That's stupid as fuck. And you should not be able to cancel in the Shattering Strike from his DP on block. Once again, removing risk reward, it's complete nonsense. It's not fun to play against, to be honest, and I've done it a few times. It's not really fun to play as. Like it's just stupid. Like removing one thing that should be in all fighting games is risk rewarded, and I think these two characters alone kind of removed, and Swiftmaster kind of removes that whole idea of risk reward. I can just do whatever I want, and you just have to respect it. So moving on, Dragon Knight. I actually think Dragon Knight is fine as she is. I think the character is pretty good. Troubleshooter, I think Troubleshooter is also fine. I don't think he needs much. Enchantress, just increase the walk speed on Mad. Mad is really fucking slow, so if she gets guard cancel, she gets flying back full screen, and Mad is still next to the opponent. Yes, there is the advantage of she can potentially keep them in place by hitting 2S or hitting DP from across the screen, but what if they don't do that? Like, what if they just dash forward and Matt is slowly walking backwards? You're now stuck without a DP because he now has to walk across the whole screen with a slow ass walk speed. So I think Matt should have faster walk speed, and maybe this is I'm just kind of spitballing here, but what if they increase her damage by just a little bit? Obviously, she gets a lot of damage when she lands the command grab because unblockables, but maybe boost her damage up just a little bit. I'm mainly saying it because characters like Swiftmaster, who share the same health pool as she does, but he's doing way more. He's doing way more damage with way scarier, more consistent offense. And so it's like why can't she get a little bit more damage? But moving on to Ghostblade, I think the character's fine. Maybe add some invul frames. Maybe add faster invul frames on his 2MS so you can get out of situations a little bit faster. But obviously, all of these ideas I'm listing for all the characters are primarily just spitballing. I'm not saying this is what should happen. This is what I think could happen. or just just my general thoughts on things. I think they could add the involved frame starting a little bit faster, but other than I think it's fine. Kunoichi, I think she's okay too. Maybe adjust the horizontal tracking on the Toad. Grappler, make his 2MS now counter lows, so you see he can actually fight back. Right now the character cannot fight back. Or they can do that, and or if he taps his 5MS, his flip kick where he jumps over you and stomps the ground, they can make that a low crush. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be a frame 1 low crush. That would be nice. But make it like a frame 3, frame 4 low crush. I think Grappler will be sitting in a pretty solid spot. Allow him to fight back. Ranger, less guard break on his Gunhawk. There's no reason that should do more guard break than like every other move in the fucking game, or almost every other move in the game. Or they can keep the guard gauge damage, but increase the mana cost to 75 or 80. Right now it costs 70 mana, but I think they can increase the mana cost to kind of offshoot the guard gauge. Lost Warrior, I think he's fine. He's a gimmicky ass character, but in terms of balance, I think he's relatively okay. For Launcher, I say make her 6 and match. The gravity ball, cause it a wall bounce. Give her some mid-screen combos. That's mainly what one of the 2 things she's missing, in my opinion, is mid-screen combos and projectile durability. So if they make her gravity ball cause a wall bounce mid-screen, she can get some actual mid-screen combos, punish people for trying to shoot her or trying to shoot her back, which they can do pretty easily. Increase her projectile durability. I just had a game today where a launcher did her jumping laser against my troubleshooter, and I just did jump grenade, and the grenade went through the laser and it hit her. The laser should definitely beat the fucking grenade. Her 6S should be worth 2 projectiles. Her 5S, I think the Stare AMR should be worth 2. The laser, her 5MS, should cause a hard knockdown on hit, in my opinion, because that's her only way of getting hard knockdown primarily. She has very little ways of getting hard knockdown. She only has nuke and her I think it is her 2S, her Spriggan, the Sly. I think that's 4MS actually. But that's her only way of getting hard knockdown, I believe, is just nuke and Spriggan. So I think 5MS Ender can be quite useful for her in terms of Oki. Just give her something. And this one's kind of like off the wall. Breaker JA and overhead. That'd be kind of fucked up. They can slow it down, because it would be in instant overhead across the cast, but just give her a little something, Give my character a little something. Well, not my character, but give the launcher a little something. She deserves it. Lastly, obviously you got, I forgot, we got Vanguard. I think Vanguard is relatively okay. Just increase the hitbox on his DP so it can hit crouching opponents, and I think the character was pretty good. His Rekka RPS is fairly strong. Maybe adjust the Rekka timings a little bit so they're a little bit faster, so it's not as many gaps. But I feel like the gaps is also what make the Rekkas kind of scary. But lastly, we have Inquisitor, obviously my main character, so I got the most things for her other than Swiftmaster. Like I said, these are all spitballs, just what I personally think they should do, or can do at least. One, they should increase her health to 950. She does not warrant, at least Enchantress can warrant the oppressive offense to be worth 850 health. Inquisitor doesn't. Her offense is strong, but it's not as strong as someone like Enchantress or Swiftmaster. Her damage is not as high as someone like Swiftmaster. His neutral is not as good as someone like Swiftmaster and Enchantress. So there's no reason she's being 850 health character, so she should definitely be bumped up to 950, 900 at least, but 950 I think is where she should be. Make her 5A and 2A faster by 1 frame. I don't want to make it like too strong. Like if I want to make it too strong, I'll say make her 5A 8 frames. But I just want her 5A to be 9 frames and then 2A instead of 8 to 8 instead of 9, so she can actually have some slightly better Abare options. More guard damage from the wheel or from her normals. Her normals actually do a fair bit of guard damage. That's something not many people realize. Her 5S be chunking people, so does her JS, J2S, and the Beyblade spin. All those do a fair amount of guard gauge, but I feel like a character who feels like they're supposed to be a guard gauge breaking character. I feel like she could do a little bit more. Characters like Ranger with Gunhawk, Vanguard with his all of his S skills and all of his mana skills be chunking your guard gauge. So I say they should increase the guard gauge damage on the wheel, or increase the guard gauge damage on her normals. So she can feel like she's doing what she is supposed to be doing, which is breaking your guard. And now we're kind of like the full conspiracy theory, like spitballs. Like, what if they can make JMS an overhead? That'd be a 17 frame overhead, which is kind of nutty. But hey, it's an overhead that costs 70 mana. I'll fucking take it. She needs it. Even more like off the wall, her grab now ignites the oil in Awakening. That would be super sick, in my opinion. You know, give a little something. I mean, lastly, I kind of threw this in at the end, because I personally don't know how they could possibly do it. But maybe rework her Awakening. Her Awakening right now is just a worse version of Dragonite. If you don't know, Dragonite's Awakening, her mana regen is doubled from 15 to 30. So she has the fastest mana regen in the game at 30 mana per second. And Inquisitor's Awakening is similar, but it's just her mana regen starts instantly, no matter what she does. It doesn't regen fast, like the amount she gets per second doesn't change, because she's actually in the lower end, I believe at 12 with most of the cast, but it just starts instantly. You know, which isn't bad, but on such a mana heavy character, I think it could be better. So I think her mana regen should be reworked, you know, maybe make the burns from the oil combos, from the SS combos, do more damage. Like instead of the wheel and the fight and the Molotov doing 50, the DP and the JMS doing 70, maybe make those do 80 or 90, or well, 90 would be a little much. Probably make them do a 75 to 80, and make the wheel and Molotov do 55 to 60, because that damage is unscaled, so you can't make it too high unless it's fucking ridiculous. But I do think her Awakening should be reworked, because it feels too similar to Dragonites, and Dragonites is just straight up better. But those are just some general ideas that I had, just kind of things, you know, that I would hope to see. Obviously, I'm not expecting all of these. I'm not expecting any of these to be put in, actually. But this is just what I was thinking they should do when I heard that they were doing a character balance patch at the end of August. But we'll just have to wait and see what we get. But if they don't do any of the character changes that I was thinking of, at the very least, I do hope that they fix all the bugs and they beef up training. I think that should be like the main thing in my opinion. Make the game playable. Character balance doesn't mean shit if you can't actually play the fucking game. So that's going to be it for me today. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. There's going to be more DNF videos coming down the pipeline. I got an Inquisitor guide coming out hopefully within the next few weeks. I'm going on vacation next week, so the time's going to be a little bit iffy. But I hope to see y'all motherfuckers in the next video. Until then, a peace.